Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second discussion of The Judging Eye. This is the first book of the Aspect Emperor series by R. Scott Baker, or the fourth book. We didn't change book numbers, just the chapters. The fourth book in the second Apocalypse series. We are going to be talking about chapters 5 through 8 today, and for next week, we're going to be talking chapters 9 through 13. We meet every week to discuss approximately 100 pages of the book. If you'd like to join us for the discussions, either here in the discussion group or on the forum, just talk to us on the forum threads. Consider checking out the Page Chewing forum. That's where we do all our planning. With me, I have the usual group of friends. Steve, would you like to start us off with introductions?
Sure, I'm Steve, and I'm trying to get over this cold. But you can find me on pagechewing.com, and yeah, that's about all that's interesting with me.
You sound much better, though. So that's
You do sound much better.
Yeah.
I'm Carl, and first-time reader. Happy to be here.
Yeah, and I'm Dan, fifth-time reader or something. Yeah, happy to be here too.
Fifth time of the Judging Eye as well.
I don't remember.
Okay.
I just said 5 because it sounds correct, but I'm not sure if it's 5 or 4 or 6 or whatever. Who knows?
That's right.
And this is your fifth time. You haven't read it 5 times before, and this is a sixth time.
I've read The Judging Eye more than the previous trilogy because I read it along with Steve and this podcast before, but I didn't read the original trilogy, the first trilogy, again. So
it's still so weird when people say that, like when they read along, because you just feel like you're talking into the void, and someone's like, "Oh, I read it." It's like, it's cool, it's neat.
Yeah,
it is cool.
And I've started listening to the Prince of Nothing podcast first. Like, I didn't want to before. I don't know why. Because, didn't want to influence our discussions, I guess. But now I've started listening to those in the background while I work. So that's been fun. What was I saying? Yeah, we start with chapter 5, where we meet a new priesthood of Yatwar. Was this god in the appendices that we talked about?
Yeah.
I feel like she must have been. I definitely didn't register a lot of the god. The only one that I can always distinctly remember is, now it's Ejokli, I think, is one of them because of the focus on him. Is like the trickster god that we see like a statue of early in the book. But before that, in the original trilogy, the only one I could remember was Gilgail or Giljail.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, the god of war, just because he's mentioned all the time. And it's like, violent Giljail, like, everyone was always talking about, like, winning his favor in the middle of the war and wanting his blessing and shit like that. So
I think the only other ones mentioned are Yatwar is mentioned, and I think the god of the sea is mentioned, but I don't remember what his name is.
And sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, they definitely mention like a handful, but it's always in passing and with very little context. Like they're definitely not, you don't get to go into their cults in any depth in the original trilogy, except in like, again, you get kind of like passing mentions. It's not like this where we really get to see the inside of one of the cults. And it was so cool. So cool. Did not expect it at all.
Sorry, what was I saying? And what about the brother of the goddess? Or is it... Yeah, it's the brother of the goddess, right? The one who will be the White Luck warrior, the god of war. Did we see that one also in the appendix?
White Luck warrior was not named. I mean, if he was named, it wasn't as that.
No, but like the god of war, did we see one before?
Yeah, Gilgail.
Yeah.
Gilgail, however you pronounce it. That's...
that's the god of war, you meant. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he's mentioned a lot in the original trilogy.
Interesting.
I think White Luck might be mentioned in the appendices, but it's like a line, I think.
Okay. White...
Is it as a separate thing, or is it then someone we know? Is that what that... I mean, I guess...
No. It's a separate thing, just to like put there. I think. I would need to recheck. I don't know where I put my ebook reader, but...
I really feel like we manifested the White Luck warrior being mentioned. We last chat, we were like, I want to know, these books have such cool, interesting titles. White Luck Warrior. What's up with that? I don't know. Judging Eye. What's up with that? Actually, did we get mention of the White Luck Warrior before we got mention of the Judging Eye?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm very much on the theory train. Dan, I don't know if you listened to our last episode, but Justin proposed, I think he was the one who proposed the idea that the stuff going on with Mimara is the Judging Eye, because she is judging via her eyes.
Yeah.
Seems to have some special sight. And I think that's a strong theory.
Yeah, I guess the Judging Eye wasn't called by name as the Judging Eye, but it was. But we have seen the mention of the White Luck Warrior. I've started collecting candidates for who the White Luck Warrior is.
Warriors? Okay. Yeah.
Because I really have no idea.
Yeah, me either. But I'm sort of guessing that someone will be possessed, like the god will come upon them or something. And there are some interesting people, like I guess the captain of the skinny test that Akamian hired, and Sorville are my current candidates so far.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting if it was a non-man. I mean, I don't know if they even worship or how, but I was just thinking of, depending on how all the god stuff works. I mean, they've been around a long time. One of them could definitely be someone of great import, including the dude we just met, whose name I cannot remember to save my life. But he's like the only major non-man we've been dealing with, I feel like, for a while.
Incariol, is that his name?
Yes.
Yeah, Incariol's the new guy.
Yes, that's who I mean. Yeah. The guy with the weird mask.
Yeah. I don't think the non-men do they have gods? I'm trying to think, because the 100 gods are specifically human. It's like It's a very specifically human, because it's based on the tusk, and the tusk specifically says that the non-men need to be destroyed or something, right?
Oh, I didn't know that. Or if it mentioned that, I forgot.
Mentioned in some of the appendices or something.
Okay.
When I think with the breaking of the gates or something, it's like, or maybe the history of the non-men.
I mean, that adds up, considering that like the original Tusk and the original Prophets. Oh, hey Justin.
Hey Justin.
Hey y'all.
Justin.
We're just chatting about the White Luck Warrior and potential identities, and then non-men, if they have gods or not. I mean, if the original Tusk is like all about, the original, like, what was it, like 5 prophets, or is it the 5 tribes?
The 5 tribes, yeah.
Yeah, and then the one prophet who led them over the mountains into Irwa. And so, of course, that's where the non-men live, so they would have to view them as enemies. They're invading their land. So I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. But also regarding the Judging Eye, we're going to get 100% confirmation, because it is mentioned specifically by name at some point.
I figured. These things usually are.
Yeah. Oh, it's a title screen. It's the name of a movie. He said it.
He said it. It's what are we, some kind of Judging Eye?
It's gonna be something like that, I guess.
I like the cover of the audiobook. I don't know if it's informed by the content of the book at all, but it's this giant eye, and it's got some trees and stuff in the background, but it also looks like a green face, which again is very interesting. Either way,
who has a green face?
Just it looks like the eye belongs to a green face.
Yeah.
Oh, weird. Yeah.
I'm saying, who of our characters has a green face? Nobody.
But yeah, if you look closely, it's not actually a green face. It's just a forest behind the eye. So the eye is just hanging in isolation.
What does it mean?
Justin, what are your thoughts on the White Luck Warrior or the Cult of Yatwer? And I mean, specifically, we were kind of discussing too the potential identity of the White Luck Warrior.
Please forgive me. My dog is losing her mind, and I'm just gonna shut that door real quick. I don't know what she's on about. So I guess my only real thought about this, and maybe somebody already said this. Sorry, I'm late. I don't know what happened, but Sorwheel, it is somehow related to the White Luck Warrior because of the interaction that he had with I can't remember the name of the enslaved person who was in
Proserpian or something.
yeah something with him, with the him being a Yatwarian cultist devotee, and awesome stuff with all the cultic priestesses, or all those priestesses at the beginning. That was so awesome. I had to reread that this morning because it had been like a week. So, but I don't have I don't have anything, anything really to go on. It's just like that. I feel like maybe there's misdirection happening there, but I don't know.
Yeah, that was my reason too for Sorville, because of that interaction with the priest. And for so I was, before you came, Justin, I was talking about my candidates for who might be the White Luck Warrior, and the other candidate I have is the captain, because Agamian thinks to himself that he looks 1,000 years old, which is interesting.
That is interesting. Something like that absolutely could be foreshadowing. Yeah.
It was specifically his eyes, not his face. Of course, that would be weird if he actually literally looked 1,000 years old. But isn't it strange for someone to be carrying the weight of the world that feels like 1,000 years old? He has seen the Holy War and a bunch of other things, but I don't know. I feel like it's a comment about more than just his experience.
What is? I mean, what do we think? Obviously, the White Luck Warrior is supposed to kind of stand up against, be a warrior against these,
the demon.
The demon, exactly, against Kellis, right? And so, what specifically do we think his deal is? Like, I mean, is this a god manifesting in a person? Like, I'm a little unsure about like exactly how to interpret it, because like the way it's described, I felt like it was almost like, the god is literally just going to like appear, but surely it would be through like an avatar or something, right?
I mean, the god does sort of manifest sort of in front of what's her name, Satma Nanaferi, right?
Yeah.
The head priestess. I guess it's a vision, but
I wasn't. Yeah, I like any of the visions. I wasn't sure whether or not to take that as like, literally happening or not. I guess
seems quite real. I guess, right?
I'm gonna take your word for it, Dan.
No, I'm just saying. Like, she seems to be quite. Like, she's not a sorceress, right? But she does seem to have powers. Like, there seems to be something. Maybe it might be something like the Susaurum magic that doesn't show, some different version. But, like, there does seem to be something there, not just them, imagining things like it would be in a real world or something like, there's God, but I can't prove it. Or, just need to believe or whatever,
I mean, didn't we see that the gods are apparently like some creatures that live on the outside? So they could manifest. Like, we've seen some demons be called down. Maybe the gods can come to the world by their own will, perhaps. The demons also live in the outside, right? They're called down by the Scarlet Spires. So the gods could similarly manifest, perhaps. But she didn't show herself in a physical form, did she? She just talked to her somehow, communicated with her somehow.
I like too how there was there was a practical explanation for that interaction that she had with the goddess, where somebody was like, she passed out for a moment, and then somebody was helping her up and saying like, oh, have you had this? I can't remember what it was called, but have you had this condition for a long time, kind of a thing. Somebody, which maybe like epilepsy or something like that. Somebody who has a seizure disorder of some sort. So there's like a practical explanation for it that could potentially explain it, but also she has access to some kind of supernatural power, right? Because of the interaction where she sends away the the oracle into the graveyard, and she basically dissolves, right? So there's some sort of power there that they are adjacent to or have access to somehow. Not in, oh my God, not in any sort of way that the schools would, but there's something supernatural happening there. I don't know.
I hope that some listener has like headphones on really loud and just gets like jump scared. Would be just legend. Write in, listener, if you got jump scared. I want to know. No, anyway, I've wondered too about kind of the nature of the gods. Like, are they so, are they more like ephemeral beings? Are they very corporeal or have the potential to be? Do they have to act through avatars? What is their nature if they exist on the outside? Are they mortals who have arisen and like gone beyond mortality? Are they aliens? Are they just like spiritual beings that embody specific concepts, or do they even embody these concepts, or are humans just like applying the concepts to them? There's a lot of taking for granted that they're real. What exactly their nature is, I think, is remains a mystery.
But also, why are they against Callus? Apparently, why would they? Like, he seems to be doing what they would want in theory, right? Marching against the consult.
I think they call him a demon, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And I was wondering why they were so anti him having the other school for the witches. Like, that seemed to be a big problem for them, and I wondered why that was.
Is it simply that they're upset with the power grabbing? At least the priesthood seems to be upset a little bit with the fact that he's somehow the head now
right
of the religion.
He basically took their power, right? If they acted through their chief priests, then him taking over essentially is like wresting that control away from them, assuming that's even how they function to begin with.
I guess we also don't really know if do they even believe in the one god? Because they are part of the 1,000 temples, but they have a secret head, and it seems that, I don't know, why would you have a secret head if you have an actual, like Shreya or whatever? Like, they seem to be a bit separate, I guess. I don't know.
And are the people of the place that Sorville is from, I forget the name, but
Sacarpus?
Sacarpus, yes.
Whatever you pronounce it.
Are they all also worshippers of Yatvar, or is it just that person who interacted, the slave that Sorville had that interesting interaction with? Is he a Yatvarian or whatever they're called? And it's a secret cult even there.
I think part of it is, these cults exist, but the gods are all still sort of acknowledged as real. So like a lot of them, if you're just like a general layman, you may, I guess it is an interesting question, right? Like, is Sacarpus tied in some way to Yatwar? Because certainly if you look at like kind of the Hellenic inspirations, like specific cities, Greek city-states were tied to specific gods and goddesses. And so, I don't know if we know for certain one way or another.
Do kind of, because I think it's mentioned that, for example, Momnin, whatever, is dedicated to the god of the sea or something.
Right, yeah. That definitely is mentioned, yeah.
I don't know about other cities, but...
No, the Eothia seems to be kind of the center for Yatwar. That's where they built the temple after the under Callus's rule. So it's sort of like they previously were persecuted, and now they're sort of publicly anyway being welcomed to worship, and so like the cult of Yatwar has grown in the last 20 years.
But in theory, they're all supposed to be part of the Thousand Temples, right?
Right.
Just aspects of the one god, I guess, or obviously, right? So I don't know.
That's what I was sort of trying in a very roundabout and then walking away from it, wandering away direction, like trying to get at was that like everyone sort of believes theoretically in all the gods, but they may not like focus their worship, in that way, right? Like whoever Sorwheel, I mean, he certainly, I'm sure, believes in Yahweh, right? But she may not be, sort of his primary god or goddess.
I think they say it's mostly for poor people or the lower caste, right? So he wouldn't be part of that, probably, right?
Yeah, where's like the workers' party?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's pretty cool how it's depicted because she's like, yes, she's the god of poor people. She's god of, I guess, fertility and all those things, but she's also like terrible and bloody and like powerful, right? Not a meek goddess. Let's put it like that.
No, there's definitely a dichotomy there.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. Go ahead, Varsha.
I was saying it was interesting to me that the Sakarpis people also refer to Kellis as a demon, and that was the terminology that the Yatwar people also use. So when they did it, it felt like that they were just being angry at him, like calling him the worst thing that they can think of. But with the priesthood, it feels more intentional, like they mean something by it. Um, and maybe that's tied to why the Sakarpis people also call him that. But yeah,
it then begs the question, right, about like, well, what's the nature of demons in this world, in this universe? If Kellis in any way qualifies, and it isn't just kind of, for lack of a better word, like a slur to use to refer to him, an insult. Then, like, what are the demons? Like, are demons beings that work against the god's will? Is it like that simple? What are demons? Because certainly before, I mean, when you saw demons manifested by like the Scarlet Spires, I assume they were just like monsters from the outside. But if theoretically someone could be classified as a demon by the gods themselves, or by like their high, worshiper, the ones who theoretically should know what's up, what are demons, right?
I understood it as a like metaphorical, Lou said. But again, I can't vouch for it. I'm trying to think if I remember what they called him during the Holy War before everyone believed in him, like the party opposite him. What was it, the Orthodox guys? What did they? Just like a false prophet or something?
I think the false prophet is kind of.
Yeah, but maybe now that he uses magic, it's like they need something more than that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
So do the Sakarpis follow the religion of the 1,000 temples?
Yeah.
The task? Okay. So interesting. So there are those who do not believe that he is their prophet then, and just a demon instead. Okay.
Well, yeah. I assume, and it's been 20 years, and we did hear mention of the unification wars. So I assume everyone didn't just go on his side. There were some wars that happened.
A lot. Many.
Yeah.
Well, and the way he's really reinterpreting and rewriting the Tusk certainly would make him a heretic in a lot of people's eyes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So maybe other people were also before other kingdoms. I don't know, like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I really liked when I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but when we got Sorwheel's perspective of the huge army that Kellis had accumulated, that it strikes him that this is more than just, and they have been thinking that it's just a bid for power and to conquer the lands, but it seems that they apparently have a higher purpose than that, to go I don't know, whatever the great ordeal is. Do they even know what the great ordeal is? All these people who are being conquered, who are being asked to come join the cause, are they
Yeah.
really aware of where they're going and what is they're doing? I guess they know, they're going to Golgotha and then trying to kill the skin spice, but do
Yeah,
they know
to
the
prevent the
history and the
second
mythology?
apocalypse.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
because Kalos has been saying it to everyone, right? Like,
Okay.
literally, this is what we're trying to do. So I think, yeah, if that's the real reason, who knows?
If that's the real reason.
But yeah, it seems we are going to Golgotha,
Yeah, it seems like,
right?
yeah. That it is interesting, the journeys that started, these guys left the what edge of where what the lands known to man or whatever they called it, and then Akamian set off on his journey to wherever, like outside of whatever he was aware of.
Yeah.
We'll get to talking about Akami in a bit, but before we move on from the Yatvar priesthood,
Hmm.
I really liked the introduction of the priestess, how she talked about giving and what that means, and is slightly cynical. I feel like we're getting a lot of cynical perspectives now. I think Sorville's head was also really painful to be in, but I think overall they made good points. And I liked what she said, especially what she said about giving being a one-way arithmetic, that you can't donate without, like if you're expecting something in return, even if it's a god's, what's the word I'm looking for? Um, oh man, there is a
Blessing,
nice word that not blessing, just their,
Grace.
yes, maybe, yeah, something similar, but
recompense.
grace will serve, but but someone, just even if that's all you're looking for, you're expecting something in exchange.
Right.
True.
It, yeah, it's like, is it even, I mean, again, this may not be the right word, but like, is it even grace if, it's given as like an exchange? Grace, the whole notion of grace is sort of supposed to like be freely given. And so that, like, yeah, making it almost this like mercantile exchange is interesting.
Yeah, and Esmond admits to having donated to people, beggars who she thought were priestesses, in exchange for some grace, I guess. But
Yeah, or because you never know who's a priestess or who's not, right? So you don't want to shun them.
yeah, that too. And I like that she had to leave because people started recognizing her and giving her more than they would. So yeah, really liked all of that. And also I think it was incredibly interesting that we started out seeing her as a beggar, right? And she's asking for alms, but she's like this mother supreme of her organization, and you wouldn't know that from the fact that she's begging, which again was fascinating from a
Well, if
world.
you're the goddess of humility, then the head should be the most,
Hmm,
what's the name? Human? No,
humble.
humble, the most humble one, right? I
Yeah,
guess that
that's
means
fair.
she's really like either a super fanatic or I don't know. Maybe that's how things are done. I guess in the Yatwer cult,
Hmm, yeah,
but
yeah.
it's quite interesting because it means that I don't know, like you wouldn't go into the Yatwer cult then to get rich or like if we think about
No.
priesthood in our society or how it was in medieval times, right? You often went to have like a job, a stable job, or be recognized, or as son of nobles that couldn't become knights or whatever. Couldn't, but in this case, no. I
Hmm,
guess it's all
yeah.
you're not going
I,
to get any benefits.
I really enjoyed that just the like brief window into her childhood where she was sickly and the one always overlooked. It was like she was born to be, the most humble person and to like be the one who's always casting the, suspicion of hubris on all those around her. Like she just has judging eye, if you will, like, where she's like that scene where she's like, sitting surrounded by all of the sisters, and like, you can just, you have her inner monologue where she's just like full of judgment for a couple in particular. But yeah, it's just like scorn,
Yeah, she is harsh. She is really judgmental, definitely. I mean, continuing talking about yacht wear and kind of going back to the scene with Sorwheel, I was just like quickly reread it because I was trying to remind myself exactly what went down there. What do you guys think? Like, the slave stopped him from like ripping up the document and kept, showed this brand of the sickle, right? I mean, again, talking about the Workers' Party, right? Do you think, is it like, how did you interpret that scene? Is it he feels like he won't have Yatwar's blessing if he's not a slave, or is there some like greater purpose there? I don't know. That was just the first thing that came to mind for me because I had no idea what the hell. I would definitely felt like sore wheel in that moment. I was like, what is going on? I mean, he's like working some magic, right? Like he's like put his finger in the fire and like didn't feel anything.
Yeah, and immediately after the next little vignette is Sorwheel refers to the improbable blister in his palm where his tear fell. So like my guess was that, I don't know here, maybe he's on some sort of mission and he's like, I have to stay tied to this person in order to complete my mission.
Yeah. You could also interpret it as, right, if he's a true believer in Yatver and about, the whole system, castes, and, everyone having their own place, that's his place, I guess. He doesn't want to be above, elevated. He just wants, this is where I am. This is what, I don't know.
Yeah, I thought more of the mission thing than the other one, but I think in light of what you just brought up, Dan, about if it's a goddess who appreciates humility, then the more humble position would make more sense. So being freed would elevate him somehow. So yeah, it could be both. Yeah, I think the thing that he did to Sorville, that's mighty interesting. I have no idea what happened there, but I feel like some big consequences are about to happen from that.
Right, but
Especially because
he like branded Sorwheel basically, and
yeah,
if you think it's in some way connected to like a goddess's magic, then I mean, what does that mean, right? Yeah, is he the White Luck Warrior? I mean, absolutely. You guys are. That's a strong theory.
and can I slightly change topic, but staying on Yatwar, I really liked that scene in that cavern thing that they're all at when the goddess demonstrates her fury by throwing the oracle out of the room, and then um, yeah, for they saw now that their goddess was real. I loved that line because I think, you know, all belief relies on faith unless you are in a world where you can see your gods and goddesses. And I guess even in this world, what we went through the whole holy war without seeing any manifestations of gods except the no god, and it's unclear whether he's really a god as they define him in this world. And this goddess, we've seen two manifestations of her. She seems furious for whatever reason, and and they are terrified when what they believe in has shown itself to be real.
I mean, understandable, right? Because you'd be like, am I living up to it? Is the goddess like, she's judging you. So what? And I mean that, yeah, it would just be scary too. To be confronted with all that power,
Mm.
suddenly know, just how small you are. Be reminded of that.
Yeah.
I like too how, as readers, we've known all along that like sorcery is very real and it works, but all of the gods and the tusk and everything has always had more the color of religion in like our reality, right? Where some people really believe it's real and a lot of people really don't. But now we know that it really does have teeth.
Right.
That's fun.
Yeah, and is that does that make you happy or like not? I guess this was a brilliant observation, I thought. Uh, and I also liked, it was strange, but I liked it, the ashes of former priestesses make up the the floor of the place where they congregated, and that apparently prevents them from whatever scrying Maithanet can do, which also a different kind of magic. No, I think one of you was saying earlier about how the goddess was talking to, what's her name, Satma, and
Yeah.
and that is not quite sorcery but some other form of magic, but this too, the magic tied to the goddesses and gods seems interesting.
Did we talk about how, I think we did, that I guess this has some role playing background too, and it's like particularly you go to like D&D and stuff, and there are like different types of magic, right? There's some that you like manifest just like innately. There's some you have to study uh, to create, and then some you get from like the worship of the gods. And I wonder if that's kind of what we're seeing here is the same sort of divisions.
But in theory, the magic that the schoolmen do is just supposed to be like a corruption of what the god would be able to do, right? So maybe it's the same fundamental one, just they're sort of piggyback on it or
Mortals
something,
are
or
taking
doing it
advantage of something they're not supposed
imperfect
to.
way. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
But to like draw an analog to D&D, in D&D you have like the weave, and it functions similarly, right? Like that's what reality is made of. And in these books, you have the Anta, which is what sorcery accesses. And then also along those lines, just when you were saying that, Carl, in D&D, like sorcery would be much more analogous to what the Kisharim do, whereas like
Right.
other schools of magic would be more like
A wizard.
Yeah, like the wizard schools. Yeah.
That's a good point. That's interesting. I wonder if these are intentional, points of inspiration. Um, do we want to move on to Acamian? Anyone have any other thoughts?
um Acamian, and then do we want to come back to Kelmomis afterwards, or should we finish that
Yeah.
chapter? Okay, yeah, let's do Acamian then.
Yeah. What do you guys think of? Oh, sorry, Steve. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna ask because it seems like Acamian has been kind of a fan favorite for all of us. Do any of you feel differently about him now? That what his intentions are, and that he's manipulating, I guess you can say, the group.
Yeah, he does have that thought about how he's going to, he'd burn 1,000 of them if necessary to get to the Ishwal somehow.
Yeah.
It's
And it's a
definitely
bit
not.
weird. Yeah.
It's not moral or ethical in any. I mean, I guess you could argue the ethics depending on like if in finding out about the Dunyang and more about Kellis, he can then subvert Kellis in some sense. But I don't know. That's a complicated conversation and really depends on him succeeding and what that actually results in. But at the same time, I don't. These aren't innocent. Like they all seem to be pretty shitty. It's kind of like the Night's Watch in A Song of Ice and Fire, where like actually the Night's Watch has like a bunch of like actual children in it, but like these are like they just don't seem like very nice people or very good people. Like they speak pretty openly. I mean, they talk about it, right? There is no like law, but like the strong,
Yeah.
right? Or is the law or like morality? I forget whatever it is, but like basically they're like it's all about scalps and survival and nothing else matters. Brotherhood doesn't matter, loyalty doesn't matter, and so I don't know. I'm hard pressed to feel particularly, I guess, bad for them. Like I don't think what Akemi is doing is awesome, but like these guys are also kind of, and they got a big payday potentially, and they're potentially doing something for the greater good, even if they don't know it. So I don't know.
Are they doing something for greater good?
Well, not to their knowledge.
Not
Well,
yes.
to our knowledge, I mean, is Callus doing something wrong?
And they're not doing it voluntarily.
No, definitely not voluntarily. I mean, Kellis, he is doing good and bad things. Good in that he's trying to combat an apocalyptic threat. Bad in that, in so doing, he's become the worst tyrant Era has ever seen.
Has
And
he though?
I mean,
is he worse than a lot of the other kings and queens and other random things we've heard of? Like, he's even given like women more rights and
well, see, that's just it. Like he is this, like, he's more insidious because in terms of spectacle, everybody is much more free, right? But they're not really, right? But Kellis still rules with an iron fist. And like, let's not forget, he's the guy that made that entire city like chop like 8,000 people's heads off, like in pursuit of victory. Like, he's absolutely ruthless, and like we don't know what his end game is. But on that, I love how like Bakker has sort of made a Camion of like a little bit of a miniature Kellis, right? He's now traveling with his own little. He's got his own little ordeal, that like the lesser ordeal, and he's willing to sacrifice everybody in the ordeal for his purposes. And like, it is kind of like, okay, who's in the right here, right? Like,
that's a great point. There's definitely a parallel there.
And it is, I think, the answer to your question, Steve, also I think depends on what it is he thinks he's going to do at Ishwal. He had this moment of doubt whether all he wants is vengeance, and that's why he's going there. And if that's the only answer, then yeah, it's bad to throw people at that problem, I think. But also, to Carl's point, I kind of agree. They're like, see woman, rape woman. That's like, seriously okay. um
Yeah, they
so
exactly. It's like the moments they had, like, they're entertaining to read about, in that, like, they got some colorful characters among them, and like, some of them are kind of funny, and they certainly, some of them seem pretty badass, but like, yeah, exactly, that like their first reaction to seeing a woman is like a bunch of them try to like gang rape her, and it's like, okay, like I don't know that like these are humanity's best and brightest, right? Like this is, I mean, again, I definitely feel callous saying that, but I don't know. Again, it's not like these are like really particularly moral people. I don't know that they should just be like sacrificed, but is this any different than the other jobs they would take on, in that like they're all extremely risky, right? They're going into the same general area. They know that the enemy they're fighting. I don't know.
I mean, to what degree are they like, have they been coerced into this position by Kellis, like by his
Right.
rule? And
well, he's
like
paying them.
Yeah, right. but like, like you were saying, is what he's doing bad? Like, if in like with regard to empire and like, historical references here, like Kellis, there are some pretty awful parallels to, which Kellis is being drawn here. And the Scout Boy maybe are people who don't have other choices, and who are, not to excuse behavior, but like, they're in a sense a victim of circumstance as well.
No, that's definitely
but I don't
true.
think that,
right?
yeah.
I mean,
any of the
yeah.
things we've seen, right? Sorry, go ahead, Carl.
Well, I was just going to say, you could definitely see a number of them being driven to do this by desperation, right?
Mhm.
And that kind of making them more hardened and more callous and more cold. It's kind of the age-old question of like, where you sort of draw the line morally on like people who are, hard and cold and like, you know, lawless and, you know, like as individuals, you know, in like crimes, you know, when people commit crimes like murder, for example, and rape and things like that, like when do you look at their circumstances and like try to be empathetic, and then like where do you have to like, you know, I mean, it's literally the Wild West out there, right? Like that's only just now really occurring to me is again the Cormac McCarthy references we've talked about, and like the old idea of scalping is like there's no law up north, right? It's just the strong and the few vestiges of mankind trying to survive, and now all of these scalpers going up and trying to, you know, find their fortune.
But I wouldn't call any of these people ethical or anything like that. And I mean, they're not. I say nothing they do really surprises me in the sense of the context of what we've seen and what the society is. I'm like, yeah, I can. It's a bit extreme, but it's not that extreme, considering everything else that happens. Even what Kellos does, I mean, some of the stuff is pretty ruthless. But in the context of the society, I'm like, I think that's par for the course for like a conqueror. I think. I don't
His
think
secret
many of them were
police is pretty crazy,
merciful.
though. You know, like he has a secret police that is seemingly quite effective, and that although it does make you wonder, how did they never catch a Camion? You know, I'm kind of shocked that a Camion
Well,
hasn't.
they obviously
You
don't
know,
want to catch him, right?
right. That's what I'm getting at is if there's that intentional kind of leaving him be,
Yeah.
and maybe, you
But
know,
are
Kellis
these,
has plans.
do you think these secret police are worse than the Trial Knights before? Like, I don't think if they were like heretical works written against the gods within the thing, they were viewed very well. I don't know if they were punished this much, but
I mean, we had a look at Sirius, his empire, right? The people
Mhm,
were basically left alone. They were uncared for, but
mhm,
I guess they had to bow down and worship whenever he bothered to get out of his um palace. But
mhm,
mostly, I got the impression that they were left alone. But in Callus's empire, it feels like there's some constant policing going on, which would, I think, even if you are a moral, upstanding citizen, you would be terrified that something you do would be misinterpreted. Like, we don't know how just they are in what they do. I think that's a missing variable for me.
mhm.
That if their decisions they take are correct, or at least feel morally right to me, maybe I'd agree with you about the nature of Callus's empire. But I don't know. Sometimes it feels like they might make self-serving decisions.
I
I
sort
mean,
of
I feel
view
like
them. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I feel like almost certainly the secret police
Mm.
act, if not with impunity, but with like I'm sure they do a lot of horrible shit, you know, and I would not be surprised if like, for example, crime rates were lower in Kellis's empire, like there were fewer outlaws and things like that. Like I wouldn't be shocked if he's established kind of a better system of like justice, but at the same time, you know, getting a little big brother with it, right? Um, you know, his effectiveness is scary, right? His competence. And so
Yeah,
there's a benefits, there's pros, right? Where I'm sure some, in some sense, the citizens are safer, but in others, like they have to watch even more what they say and do day to day.
that's exactly that's exactly what I was saying earlier, trying to say. You just said, yeah, it's like ostensibly everybody's more free, but they're all like living in this like much more tightly controlled panopticon, where
Right.
it's like a surveillance state almost. It's like a very paranoid state is the impression that I'm getting. And then we have these sort of offhanded references to the secret police, like flaying this person publicly, or murdering these people. And it's like it's a regular occurrence, right? Like it's not a special thing that they do that. Like that's how they're maintaining control. And Esmanet is this like feared, like she's done awful things, like yeah, it's
But I guess can you take a world like Irwa was when in the Prince of Nothing series or trilogy? Can you take a world like that and not rule by fear? Can you can you rule with compassion? And if that's your foundation, would you be able to? I mean, what did you need to? I guess we can go on for a long time with this, but just to throw it out there, what do you all think about that?
I mean, I would hope that if you were the son of God, you could do better.
That's that's valid as hell. I think to some degree it is almost required that you be, that a system of government be feared, right? That like there is a level of power involved, but I wouldn't want it to be like the sole defining feature, right? That it provides as much as it, not as much, ideally more than it terrifies, right? That, the respect people have.
Mm.
I
But
think
also,
there's
like,
a lot of different things that a state should provide theoretically. Like I think fear is a part of it, and I think that's inevitable. But I just feel like Kellis just goes. We get immediately the very first thing we read in this book was I don't even know what you'd call it, a prelude, from the perspective of one of his like secret police members, who,
judges, right?
yeah, who was ready to kill himself because he read Akamian's book. Or did he even read the whole thing, or just like parts of it, or something? Or
I think he
like
read a little bit, but yeah.
He
as
killed a
part of
slave
his,
and then was ready to kill himself. Yeah.
yeah, he seems so ready, yeah, to just off himself, and that's terrifying. That this guy who's very clearly loyal to the cause and everything is like, yep, I'll do it. That didn't read like someone who was just like saying that and puffing air up the ass of his superiors. Like, this is someone who was like genuinely ready to just off himself because, and I mean, I imagine he probably wouldn't have a horrible death, but still, like, just that act is insane.
Yeah.
And I guess, yeah, the tyrannical aspect is not that, you'll be the summary judgment for anything you do wrong. It includes things like the document that Carl brought up that speak, I guess, what in their opinion is heresy, right? And I guess anything that says anything negative about Kellis is considered heresy and therefore punishable by the judges. Which, okay, so I think there's two ways of looking at that. Is he the son of God who's passing this judgment, or is he a dictator person who's passing said judgment? Dictator person, you want nothing bad to be said about you, standard definition of dictator. I think we can agree that that's just wrong. But in the other one, son of God, I agree with Justin that he can do better. Like, either way, I think that that's just a terrible state for people to be in, where they can't speak out if they feel wrong done by the people in power.
I
I
don't
don't think they could
understand.
before either, though.
What?
Maybe they could, but I don't think it would do anything.
Yeah, I mean, certainly if they went out and started preaching in the streets that like they needed to like overthrow the emperor, I can imagine, they would be killed. This isn't like a modern 21st century democracy, right? Like, but although to be fair, if you go out preaching in the streets that you want to kill your head of state, chances are you will be arrested. But I mean, there's a line, I guess. But all that said, what shocks me about this is oftentimes when you have these sorts of like very intense, whether you want to call it like censorship or um, I mean, the tyranny is the word we keep using, right? It comes out of like insecurity, right? Like you were talking about Varsha with dictators. It's like, is Kellis this afraid of people that he feels the need to subjugate them so badly? Like, knowing someone who like seemingly understands how people work and how to manipulate them, like this sort of tyranny breeds contempt and breeds revolution. Like it's the sort of thing that which we're seeing actively beginning, and it surprises me that he seems. I mean, we're not in his head. I don't know. Like, who knows? Maybe that's part of his plan. Is he wants, you know, I I don't want to. There's a similar possibility, maybe parallel in Dune about a character who essentially becomes a tyrant because he believes for the greater good to make humanity tougher. And I don't know if that's sort of what Kellis is doing, but it is just it seems like a recipe for disaster in trying to unify everyone. Like there's a
from
limit to fear.
But from Kellis' perspective, like the objective is to get to Golgotha and kill the consul, right? So you need to have a very strong, solid foundation that's not going to rebel when you're away, right? Because he's going away now, so he needs to be stable. He doesn't need. He needs everyone to be working for this, and all the warriors are going to be gone with him, for example, right? If that's the objective, then how else are you going to do it? Plus, he cannot be everywhere, right? He cannot convince all of these single people on his own. So he needs some way. And
I guess
yeah.
If they're prosperous enough, that's kind of the question, right? Like, are the people comfortable enough? Because that's really where you see that sort of revolutions building, right? From the commons, that is. Like, are they, if they have enough food, and theoretically their societies are like, there's less like murder or something in the streets, then I could see this maybe working at least for a while. But I just, again, like, it breeds resentment, and inevitably it just depends again how these, like, the day-to-day person is living their lives, I guess.
But I think that the effectable censorship is a bit of a modern take in which information is easier to transmit and communicate, not where written things are only the educated can do it. It's limited. You need to copy things by hand, right? If we think about the past, this sort of stuff of prohibiting books to be written about certain things, it was a lot more effective, right?
That's definitely true. Yeah. A lot more effective and certainly more common in a sense too. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's only going to be like a specific, like maybe, I don't know, 20 monasteries that are able to publish all the printed material, pretty much printed, the written material. So if you police those ones, then you can pretty much guarantee. And I guess people are not traveling also. They're not traveling all that much. Like, you're going to have minstrels and storytellers, and I think we've heard also that people sort of do talk a bit about Akimian and those things, right? So some of it does circulate, but it's probably more like stories or gossip or whatever, not actual sedition, maybe. Unlike what Yatver is doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I mean, Kellis, I feel like understands that ideas are bulletproof, to use a figure of speech, and he, for some reason he hasn't taken out Akamian, which it seems like that's got to be an intentional choice at this point. But I think, like, Dan, based on what you're saying, like, what's so terrifying about Kellis is that, like, he thinks about people in this very, like, material, like, mechanical way, like, in the levers he's like pulling and pushing on right now are the ones that he needs to wrest absolute control over Iroha, but without the benefit of any sort of morality, right? And that's what's, like, terrifying about him, right? And that's, like, that becomes the question, like, of, like, does the end justify the means? Like, what cause would be worth this much, and what is really his goal also?
Yeah.
Right.
True.
Is he crazy?
Yeah. I mean, what is Akamian's goal too? Like, he wants to get to Shuo. Okay, if he gets to Shuo and he figures out what we know, that, I don't know, maybe he's not a real Emperor, maybe, whatever goes on with the Dunyain. Okay, now he knows it. Does that change things massively from what he already knows? I don't know.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of how I feel at the moment, is like, I'm excited for him to learn this stuff, but I don't know how that necessarily empowers him a lot with just how small he is relatively. I guess if he finds certain allies, that could be more useful information. If the gods
it's more personal, not like more for the greater good, I guess. I don't know. Unless he finds some other information, which we are also not part of.
I mean, like, he's mandate or was mandate for his entire life, and he still like is very much like of that orientation where he's like living through Siswatha's memories, and so like that's his greater goal, right? Is to like seek like the truth about Kellis, and to I mean, potentially if he gets to Ishwal, like, and alerts the Dunyan about what's going on, like they're gonna have something to say about it, like.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Probably.
But I mean, I think Kamian is arguably more altruistic than Kellis, like in that he's at least a little bit more transparent.
I
But what
definitely
think so. If he gets to Ishwal and he finds a way to stop Kellis. Okay, he goes to Kellis, he stops it, and well, let's go back. Great ordeal. Let's forget about Golgotra. Let's go back home. Let's change what we're doing anyways.
Well, the third book is called The Great Ordeal, so it needs to happen, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm
and
kidding.
Also, let's get rid of the most powerful sorcerer that has been seen in, I don't know, 1,000 years or something.
Yeah,
right?
who could prevent the rise of the no god. Yeah, let's stop him from going to Golgotha and trying that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think thinking about it, the only thing that could harm Kellis in any way is if he brings a bunch of Dunyan out to stop him, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, why would he want to do that? So yeah, it is very curious what he's trying to do. This feels like our what the heck does the consult want with the holy war problem? Or even what the heck did Kellis want with the holy war problem?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think Akamian is driven by spite, but not solely spite. Like, I think he genuinely is afraid of Kellis and feels like Kellis needs to be taken down. And certainly part of it, people are complicated. And so I do think he has a lot motivating him.
I think he believes that to do good, you must want to do good. I think he's coming from that perspective. He's like, since Kellis is not, moral, then there must be something, like he cannot be the person for the prophecy, I guess, or someone else must be it, right?
Yeah, I think one thing, I mean, we probably should take this for granted, but there's still so much mystery around the consult and even how powerful they are, and what we haven't heard from their own mouth what their intentions are, right? Like we certainly have seen that they do a lot of terrible things, so I don't want to like whitewash or anything, but I guess we just have to take for granted that they're like pure evil too, and also like an unstoppable force. I mean, certainly the strong are a problem, that they continue to multiply. That I mean, that's also the fucked up, difficult moral question, right? Is like, what do you do about something like the strong, where it's like, do you just genocide a whole species because they're a bunch of rape monsters? Like, kind of seems like you maybe need to,
just lock them up and like centralize their and don't go into their lands,
Yeah. I mean, has the consult ever done anything good? Well, I'm trying to think. Has we done one single good thing?
Not on page, but like, if you go back far enough, I mean, I don't know.
Have we heard of anything good we've done?
I mean, the consult are the bitter remnants of the people who crashed down on the planet, right?
Right.
Sort of, yeah.
But also, yeah, sorry, go ahead. Who?
Oh, and some sorcerers. Or, I mean, magic users, schoolmen.
Yeah. And it's possible that they always were evil, but they were destroyed, and these are the last, two people left who then went on to build a whole army of really evil people, apparently. So I don't know, but what they want to do, I don't think it's kind or compassionate in any way. If Moingus is right, that this is what they want to do, to block off the outside by destroying all of humanity or killing enough people that they don't have.
Like that.
Yeah. Which also, that cosmology is very interesting. I want to know more about that.
I guess the scale is different enough too, like in terms of what Kellis is doing. Like, because that's part of my issue with everything is in conquering everything, he is killing who knows how many people. So and if that's their end game at the consults, then Kellis is kind of helping them towards that, right? So
Yeah.
in the name of beating them, he's killing vast swaths of the population.
Yeah, but it's different, like a war and actually reducing people to 1% or something, whatever they need to. Like it's
right. I mean, I guess again that it's the question of scale, right? Of what
because
what
I
they
think
need.
similar war to this scale has happened before. Because before there was an empire which was as big as this one, which was presumably conquered in a similar way, right?
I wonder if the consult has a number, like kind of like the Jehovah's Witnesses have like a number of people that get into heaven or whatever. Like
Right.
if there's a,
Oh, is
if
that
there's
the
a high
case?
figure,
That's
didn't
what I'm
know that.
wondering. Yeah, I'm wondering
Yeah.
like the consult has science, so like, do they know like, oh, this is the breaking point for reality? This is how we create the wall. Like, where is that point? What does it take?
But it must take a lot because the no god literally made new births impossible, right?
for like 12 years or something
Yeah.
like that. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. I was going to ask, do they then have to also maintain active effort to keep the population down, or do they open the outside again? But then if they resurrect the no god, they automatically reduce population because humans will eventually die
Yeah.
out and they can't reproduce. Wow, that's
And
clever.
presumably they know how to live forever, as they have made the non-men live forever, and they seem to be also be living forever. So probably their objective is to just get it to wherever they need, and then everyone that's there just gonna stays there, presumably.
Oh, is that why they also screwed up the non-men? So they stopped giving birth?
I don't know about that, but yeah, presumably.
I mean, it makes
adds up.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same train of thought.
Wow.
Because the non-men were at war with them, and then they said, and then they were at peace for a while, and then they took on the Inkaroi as like their doctors.
Yeah.
And the Inkaroi said, "Yeah, we figured out the recipe for immortality. We're gonna go back to the ship now." And then nobody could.
Yeah.
Everybody almost.
But we'll kill your women and children while we're at it. Like, cool.
Yeah.
So they're pretty messed up. Yeah, but also the Srank are like, they're not, I guess for lack of a better term, because they seem more animalistic. Like they can be domesticated, like to an extent. Like we've seen evidence of that also, even though they don't have souls. Like they don't have to be as they are. Yeah.
That's true. Maybe you could like selectively breed. I mean, I'm sure you could over time selectively breed strong to be less rapey.
Why would you want to?
just change their fun. It's like changing wolves to like cute little puppies. Like
Okay.
maybe they end up being wildly different
them.
animals, but just
I'm picturing like a Srank version of the Dunyan eventually emerging out of this experiment.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's scary. I mean, Kellis' mandate sorcerer was scary enough, but this is next level.
I mean, the Srank are already a version of the non-men, right?
Yeah. Are they?
Oh.
Well, we've been seen them described like, white and with the similar facial. And I think that's more like a callback to the Lord of the Rings, in which the orcs were like tortured elves by Melkor, and in here it's like the non-men are the elves, so the Srank are some tortured version of the non-men.
Not connected those dots. That's interesting. Yeah. It does make sense.
Yeah, because I think they all have
beautiful
fused teeth or something. Yeah.
Wow.
Somewhat similar features, right?
And
So
no hair, right?
yeah.
Yes, no hair.
Yeah.
And is it a little opposite in that the non-men are ugly but the Srank are beautiful? Is that true, or am I
I thought
making
they
that
were
up?
all beautiful, I
Okay.
thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
In a somewhat statue sort of way.
Okay. Makes sense. So
But like
Steve
in a scary, beautiful way, maybe.
Did your opinion change of Akamian when you got to this part of the book?
A little bit. I think taking a band of, even though they're not the best people, taking them to a place like Ishwal, that if Kellis is dangerous, you're taking them to their home base, and you're lying to them, not just telling them where they're going, and making promises to them you don't know. Even if you make it there, there'll be any reward. And I think he even says something like, however many people it takes to get there, I'm willing to sacrifice whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this read, I felt a little bit. I mean, on one hand, I get why, but it did change my opinion of Kamian a little bit.
That's fair. I didn't think of it like that. I thought he's being deceptive in the fact of, well, where they are going, but also what they're going to do there, which, not to get money. But I didn't think of the danger that the Dunian themselves pose to these to these guys. Yeah, that makes it more terrifying. But I do think that Akamian thought a bunch of things to himself that I'm not sure he strictly believes himself. Like the thought that he had about, oh, am I just doing this for vengeance? I don't think he believes that. I don't feel like Akamian would be. I think one of you was talking about how motivated he is, but I don't think he would go to the extent he has gone if vengeance was his sole motive or his biggest motivation. It doesn't feel like that's something that Akamian would do. He just is too defeated right now to mount an expedition like this over vengeance. And this other thought he has about, I would burn them all, that feels like a moment of anger, like, yeah, this is what I need. I don't know if well, at the very least, I think he would be regretful of it if he does end up killing them all. But yeah, maybe that one he semi believes. But then there's a third part where I think when he sees someone left on the roadside and no one goes to help him, he thinks to himself, the Akamian who used to talk and ask questions is dead. And then and then 2 seconds later he's talking and asking questions.
Yeah.
He definitely deceives himself. I mean, all the characters do, all people do, really, even arguably Kellis does. And exactly. I think he would feel really bad if he actually gets everyone killed. He may say that, and he may even mean it to an extent, but I don't know. I don't think he's completely lost his moral compass. I don't think he's completely wholehearted about this. I think to some degree, him even thinking that comes out of the place of he's seeing how horrible these people are, and again, not to excuse them dying in mass, because that's I don't think that is a good thing, but I think that's kind of maybe where his internal motivation is coming from, to think that, is he's like, oh, well, these are bad people anyway,
maybe they'll all survive.
Right. They're going
nothing bad will happen.
Listen, they're going into the mines of Moria. They're in trouble.
I think they'll all be redeemed. Yeah.
And talking about that, have you all sort of caught the very strong Lord of the Rings parallels?
This is Moria. This is it's so clearly Moria.
The captain in the tavern, like Aragorn, right? Moria going up the pass. No, the pass is blocked by the snow. We need to go under, and the non-man knows the road, just like Gandalf. It's very much the same, but also different.
Who's Gimli in this version?
I don't know if there's a specific Gimli and Legolas, but because I guess the non-man is both
it's got to be the talker, right?
No, the non-man is both Gandalf and Gimli, because they're going to the Hall of Silaugus, which was a non-man mansion.
Oh, true.
So, right,
and Akamian is also kind of Gandalf.
Yeah.
And also kind of Frodo.
Yeah. But it is very much like the Fellowship, sort of.
I like this Aragorn parallel much better than the one that Carl made last time. Compare him to Kellis. No.
He is.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's fucked up. Fucked up Aragorn. What was I gonna say?
Yeah. What are we going to see in fucked up Moria? What's the Balrog
I'm
equivalent?
calling it Bashrag.
Gold.
The Bashrag. We're gonna see a Bashrag
Oh,
or a
that's the
dragon.
Raku
Yeah.
that they're expecting.
The Raku is a dragon. So I guess
Raku's
that's
dragon,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, I forgot they announced they already said that. So yeah, we're definitely gonna see a dragon. That's it.
Mm.
Cool.
Who's gonna
Maybe
die? Who's taking the L for Gandalf?
Yeah.
The
He's falling
non-rank,
down.
of course. He's gonna be burnt to cinders, and then he will come back
I mean,
as
yeah,
Gandalf the White. He's the White Luck Warrior.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's it. This is it. You solved the riddle, Varsha. This is it.
That would be amazing if that happens, and you predicted it.
Akamian already had his Gandalf moment, though, kind of at the end of the Thousandfold Thought, right?
That's true.
The
Mm.
dog moment against the demon. So
True.
That's very true. I didn't even think about that. He really did have his big Balrog moment.
yeah. What's the horrible guy's name who never shuts up?
Sorry.
He's kind of the dark Peregrine Took. I feel like.
Yeah. I enjoy having like an annoying shithead like him around, just like, oh, the captain always says, like he's over here just like taking over every conversation. I mean, who knows? Like I want to be in the captain's POV. Like, I fucking hate this guy. Like, he just never he talks for me all the time. He never knows what I actually want. Like, I'm sure he actually like cares for the guy in some like messed up way, but oh, Sarl, the worst.
Oh, he's hard.
I think conversations would be a bit hard for without him, because the captain says like 3 words. The non-man makes no sense. So it's like,
yeah.
Dude, I don't know if I want to like talk to the like. Would it be fun to talk to the non-man, or like the worst conversation ever? Because he would say a bunch of really interesting stuff, but it's all gonna bum you the hell out. It's gonna be the saddest, most like depressing, senile bullshit you've ever heard. Like I don't remember the face of my daughter. I think I had a daughter, or maybe I never did. Like.
Yeah. That's going to be interesting, though, actually getting some non-men, more lore from the non-men, more information, more interaction, right? Because we haven't had any yet, pretty much.
Yeah,
right.
I like that. I also liked the slight parallel between, well, I guess it's a parallel, I'll call it that. But when Sorvi gives up on, I don't know, he capitulates to something that Kellis and Co want him to do, and he thinks to himself that something as trivial as loneliness did this to him. And then Akamian feels similarly terrible about the fact that he wasn't invited to the captain's fire the second night. So that was very poignant and slightly heartbreaking.
That was so sad. Yeah. That was really sad.
Yeah.
Talking about Sorwheel, he's very relatable, as few characters here are. I don't like even Akamian. Like, I like Akamian, but I cannot relate to Akamian.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorwheel though is like, okay, I can understand what he's going through, and the whole thing when he sees like the bondsman of his father being dragged away, and he's trying to not look at him. Right. Yeah. That's very like I can.
Yeah.
I can feel him.
Sad. Yeah.
How old is he again? Is he like 13? He's like a teenager, right? But he's not like a late teenager.
I thought it was like 16 or something. But yeah, somewhere around there. Right?
Yeah.
Part of the reason I ask is I definitely, it changes a lot of how I view him. Because like you change a lot in those few years, and so I'm curious of like to put an age on him, but I don't know if we've been given one or not.
Yeah, and that thought when he's before the attack of the Aspect Emperor, when he looks near him and there's this other child talking to his father, and he remembers like making fun of him, sort of, or bullying him, and now he's like all those thoughts are very very relatable and very like I can, that makes sense.
Yeah. And how he misses his father and mother.
Yeah.
That conversation he has to himself, where I think his father talks about how he misses his mother, and he's like, "Yeah, I miss her, but I miss you more." Which again, the recency of that hurt. It it was painful. Yeah, I agree. He's a very very relatable character.
Hopefully nothing bad happens to him.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say he's so sympathetic. Like he's in such deep shit.
I don't like how Steve is laughing. No.
I mean, something bad always happens, right?
That's true.
Always. That's true.
Speaking of something bad happening, I'm surprised Sammy hasn't come up yet.
Oh yeah, we
Yeah.
haven't started talking about Kelmo.
Oh god,
That's its own thing. But,
I blocked
The
that
oh
only
my
out.
other
god.
good character.
Oh, I
Like,
totally
nice
had blocked that out. Oh, that was horrible. Oh, it happened so early too. I didn't expect.
Yeah.
A fucking kid.
So Eric left a comment. I think it was Eric. Wondering how far your tolerance for demon children will last through the series. And
Yeah,
apparently we haven't seen anything yet. So
I can't believe. I mean, I can. I like suspected that he was going to be the reason his brother died, but like I didn't expect it to be so soon. Oh,
Yeah.
just brutal. That scene was horrible because you knew what was going to happen the entire fucking time. It was just the tension just kept building and building. Oh,
And
Yeah.
especially the way he like impaled on the lance of one of the. I like to
Yeah.
think that because he could have just made him slip without the lance, and he probably would have died anyways because he seemed quite high. But like in my mind, he's so sadistic that he like, oh, I'll make it do this way, so even the guards are traumatized by like
Yeah.
they feel guilt about what they did because he's like a monster.
Yes.
yeah. He
And-
feels nothing.
The worst part was when, I mean, it starts with him, hiding stuff so that the nurse would leave him alone with his brother. And for a time that I was like spooked out immediately. I was like, what the hell does he want to do with his brother? But then everything is quiet. It's almost like he just wanted to be left alone to eavesdrop and everything is fine. He's giving him ideas to play and it's like, oh, they're just two kids having a good time. But then he says, do you want a balance here? I was like, wait, where is he asking him to balance? On a railing, no less. And then when he falls, it's onto a spear. Oh my god, it was just terror after terror after terror. Oh yeah, I hated that scene.
Brutal.
And the fact that there's like you can hear, like you can imagine the whole scene, and you can hear the court going on and Esmond talking in the background. It makes it even more real. Like you can imagine, like in our real lives, a mother or father doing their work and the child unattended. Right? It's
Yeah.
exactly how it would happen.
And how casually he does it too, right? Like it's not like he's only partially giving his attention to the, like he's got far more attention to eavesdropping than to killing his brother. Like he doesn't even deserve that attention when he's being killed by him, apparently. So
because he's so carefully orchestrated the whole thing. He's fake sick, and then he hid his medicine, and then he oiled the railing with olive oil, and
god.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that bit about the olive oil. Jeez.
Yeah. Oh my god.
He
Yeah,
cleans it after, right?
When we got to that, I was like, this little son of a bitch. Like, oh, the salt on the wound too is, of course, poor Esmonette is horrified and grieving her child, and is being completely manipulated and has no idea what happened, and thinks he's also, little Kel is also sad, and it's like, no, he's a little monster. Ugh.
Is he worse than Kellis? I mean, because at least he feels feelings, right? He does love her, for sure. He's manipulating her into loving him.
Terrible things.
Yeah. Is a terrible person better than a completely amoral, no sentiment person?
Good question.
I mean, I think it really depends on how this kid grows up, Like as a child, I feel like I just have to give the sympathy to him because he still has a chance to change. And I feel like Kellis is beyond that point now, like I don't feel like he's ever going to make a turnaround. So not that I suspect in this story of all stories that is going to happen. If anything, the kid's going to get worse. But, I don't know.
I mean, the question of better or not has to depend on, I guess, sure, you can figure it out based on their thoughts, and I don't know how I would weigh Kellis versus Kelmobus at this point, but also the influence you have on your world, right? Like the events that you effect. And I don't know, one is leading a great ordeal. Maybe this guy will lead a bigger war when he grows up. I don't know. But right now, he's killing his brother callously. So similar,
He just
I
wants to
think.
be loved.
But I think this is the case where the what ends don't justify the means.
Most definitely not.
Yeah.
So we were talking about what the voice is in his head. So when Samarmas dies, he says, the voice says, why didn't you kill me sooner? So did we get, excuse me, confirmation of the theory we had last time that the voice is Samarmas's non-mad or like sensible portion of his consciousness?
It's what it certainly seems to be, and I don't know how that works, but yeah, I'm curious if
And
it's like it. I still wonder if it's some other force manipulating him through this idea of, oh, this is my twin's smart soul, inside me.
Or
that's
maybe
fair.
he's schizophrenic.
Mm.
Or maybe he's schizophrenic.
Or could it be that maybe he took his soul when we were separated, just sort of took it from him?
So it was interesting to me how Samarmas's soul or eyes were described from Kelmomus's point. It was that the deluge. As soon as he opened his eyes, he was subjected to the deluge of his brother's eyes, and then there was one other word that I forget now, but it had this impression of like this raging whirlwind, almost like whatever. Like it put images in my head. So I'm wondering if the other kid, Samarmis, before the separation, what would have become crazy, like in Relatas, is that his name? And
Yeah.
he took that crazy portion of him into himself when the separation happened.
Who knows?
Who knows? Well, you and
Yeah.
Steve know, but who
Do
knows?
we?
Do you? No?
There's a lot of things we don't know. I'll just put it like that.
Fair enough. Oh, I accidentally found out the name of the third series. Don't go looking for it, guys. That's all I'll say.
Third series? I didn't even know there was a.
I mean, that the third series that might be. We already
I
know
didn't
what
even
it's
know there
called.
was.
Okay. Yeah. Just don't go looking for it.
Like Baker's considering writing a third series?
I think he was always
Yes.
going to, and he hasn't written it yet. As far as I know.
Yeah.
I'm not doing too
Who
much
knows
research.
if it's probably both publishing issues, and I didn't even know if he's writing anything. There's no confirmation that he's writing anything.
There was a day last year, right around this time. I don't know. There was a rumor, or I don't know where it came, but somebody was saying that there was a release date for the next book. But so for about a day or so, people were losing their minds. And then it turned out to be we couldn't confirm it. So hopefully maybe he's writing something, but we'll see.
I think it's been quite quiet. The only thing we've heard is like his brother saying that he's doing fine, and he's in his house, and because he lives out in the countryside or something. That's the only thing. Who knows?
Yeah. So, Memara, we haven't talked about her. Or are we ready to move on from Kelmomus and Sorville? Was there anything else in that episode? The conversation between Espenet and Maithanet, was that interesting? Well, there was one bit that I thought was interesting, which, again, I guess is up to interpretation based on how this world works. But Esmenet, she says the goddess wants to war against Kellis, and so she's questioning why a fragment of the absolute spirit would want to war against the son of God. And Maithanet, I thought this was wonderful, but again, this is in the category of wonderful things that Kellis and the other Dunyan say that that makes me question it because of the source. But he says that humans war against themselves. They have all these different parts of themselves that fight against each other. The conflicted soul, and similarly, the gods, all of its fragments, fight against each other. So it makes sense, apparently, that Yatvar wants to wage war on Kellis, which, it was an interesting snippet. I don't know what to make of it yet. Like, I mean, we know that. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Does he say? He also says something else, right?
About
Yatvar warring against Kellis? Or does he not? Or am I thinking of a different part of a different book?
You might be.
This is the only bit that I remember.
Okay, fair enough.
But
fair
it's
enough.
possible that you're right, and I don't know what you're referring to, though.
I'll double check after if
Yeah.
I can find it again.
Okay. So, what was I saying about this? No, that was it. That was all.
Yeah,
that
it's
was in there.
it's a nice metaphor.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it was interesting. But yeah, I also like the interweaving of Kelmonis's evilry with the conversation. Yeah, I think that was it. With Sorville, was there anything else that was interesting? I think we talked through him as well, right?
Let me think. I guess he's marching with them now. He's gonna go. He's gonna become friends with the sons of Kellis.
Yeah, I guess that's the one thing we didn't talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, the sons.
Did we get anything? Is it the first time we meet them?
Yes.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Cayutas, Moingus.
Yeah.
And what
Yeah.
does he? They tell him don't talk to Moingus. He's mad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's mad.
Yeah. What do you
Yeah.
think of them?
He is his father's son.
Those are their father's children. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Dan.
No, I was just gonna ask, what do you think of them?
I don't trust him.
You don't trust him?
Nope.
But he
Don't trust
seemed
him as far
like-
as I can throw him.
He seemed pretty fair. Like he was pretty like, this is how it is, I'll try and make the most of it. He seemed, even at some point, he seemed to have feelings, right? He didn't seem to be, because I think at some point it's mentioned like he felt like a twinge of sympathy for his situation, right?
Kellis also talked like he had feelings and seemed reasonable at first.
Mm-hmm.
He seems reasonable when he wants to. I mean, apparently the Dunyan shit is, eugenicsy, so they're not as good at the Dunyan stuff, the kids, because they're, have mixed blood. But I even if assuming they feel some, which seems likely, I still don't trust them.
Okay.
Not at all.
What about Moengus? Moengus is not Dunyan.
No.
That's true.
I thought that our initial impression of Moengus was great. Like he makes a corny dick joke, and that's kind of it. And then he's kind of like, I'm out, he has the wit of Nair, like the sort of natural wit and obvious physicality of him, but he's not as fucked up yet, right? Until he gets fucked up, and then he's gonna.
Is he crazy like his dad? We'll see.
I mean, according to
I don't know
interesting.
if we can take what Cayutas, or however you say his name. I don't know if we can take that at face value. Just believe him. But knowing who his dad is, it certainly is possible.
It's interesting that they call him their brother, though, even though he's literally nothing in common, right?
I mean, they were raised by the same people,
I guess.
And I mean, was everybody I guess to what extent are people operating under the illusion that he is the son of Kellis? Like,
I'm pretty sure
that
100% they are.
I think even Esmenet believes that he is Kellis's child, no?
even though he looks just like Nair.
Everybody's forgotten now.
Yeah.
No.
Like, they know for sure he's not.
In the
They
Holy
must know
War.
he's not Kellis's son,
Yeah.
right? They must.
That's one I need answers to.
That's
I think
the
it is mentioned in the previous series, though, how they treat him as if he's the son of Kel, even though everyone knows he's not, right? And even Serwe believed he was his son, even though it obviously wasn't.
yeah. But I don't know. I feel like there was, if I remember correctly, there was a point in Espenet's POV
Mm.
where it seemed like she genuinely believed that he was Kellis's son, like as in genetically, not adopted.
Oh, okay.
But I could be wrong. I could have read what I wanted there, but
I thought so too.
That's very possible, yeah.
what else was I going to say about Moingus? Oh yeah, he hasn't been used the way Nair has. So if he in fact is mad, what would his source be for the madness? We know Nair was just like screwed up by Moingus, which what is Moingus screwed up by?
I mean, do you think he would, if he knows who his real father is, would he feel somewhat like vengeance or like be manipulated, right, by his family?
That's an interesting question. I don't know. I feel like maybe if he finds out how his father came to not be his actual father.
True.
I do think that Nair maybe had a little more going on inside him. I mean, with how his emotions were all over the place, you know, like he definitely seemed kind of manic at times. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little. I mean, obviously he was hugely affected by his circumstances, but you know, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of mental illness in the line. Although it seems like, you know, there's something in Kellis too, or something, because a lot of his kids didn't turn out right.
Yeah.
Maybe he's not. They've been so, breeding separately for so long. They're basically not human anymore. They're like barely human, and that's why it's so hard to
Yeah, I think
actually breed correctly.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and also for Moingus, like, Kellis has been his dad for 20 years. So what would that do to a person? Like, who knows what kind of like head games Kellis might be playing with him? Like that dude's probably all sorts of screwed up.
You don't want a dad like Kellis?
Nobody wants a dad like
I'm sure if you had a dad like Kellis, you'd be like, I love having a dad like Kellis.
You're right. My dad's the best guy in the world.
Yeah.
Except for, Kalmamas hates him.
So
that's right.
True.
So has Esmenet been completely disillusioned by Kellis because of what Akamian told her, or because of his recent behavior? Because there was a point, I think in the first 4 chapters, when she thinks to herself that the affection of her children is what makes it worthwhile for her to put up with Kellis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she knows, right?
Okay.
I mean, I think she probably does believe to some extent that he is necessary to be the consult, because she knows the consult is real. But I think the bottom line is, yeah, she hates him. She knows he doesn't love her, and she just cares for her kids.
Makes sense.
Yeah. She just wants a family, I guess.
Which unfortunately, yeah.
And Esmenet knows more than most, like, the horror of the console too. So
Definitely.
True.
Yeah.
I wonder if I've heard about this, and I think I can talk about it because it's not. We've already seen what happens. Some people speculate online that the reason Esmenet was able to bear Kellis' children was something to do with the rape that happened with the Incroy or something like that. Like that changed her in some way. I don't know why they would, but I've heard some people saying that.
I mean, I guess if you're looking for things that set her apart from other women, that's one of potentially the few. That just, I don't know how that would work. Like, it doesn't seem like they genetically, because they don't use like magic, right? It's all like pheromone shit.
Maybe that can change it permanently somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it is curious. And a possibility, I guess, if we don't have any other explanations for why she was genetically viable and how many did they try? 13 other women failed. Yeah.
True.
I mean, I guess that's also the through line with Surway, right?
Yeah.
Wait, no, it's not Kellis's kid.
No, it's not.
I fell down the same bullshit. That's
that
how
why-
powerful the story is. There you go.
Do you think that Kellis somewhat knew that she would be able to bear his children, and that's why he chose her? Or is it
seems
just
possible.
a coincidence?
I
Did
don't
he
know
do
how
something
he
to
knew.
her?
Like
Another
I mean, if he did something to her, he would be able to do that to the other 13 women too, right? Because ultimately he wants children, apparently.
Maybe. But maybe it was another type of manipulation of Esmenet. I wouldn't put it past Kellis to sacrifice
Fair.
13 people to manipulate someone, right?
No, yeah, I agree.
we do a lot more than that. But a pattern that holds true in both situations here is that the firstborn of both Moengus and Kellis are the most perfect, right? And then who knows if Moengus had other children, but like we know that all of Kellis's subsequent children, which I was thinking initially when reading about him, like maybe it had to do that, like they were where they were born or something, like his first son is born in the holy city, and then like another son is born in Karaskan, and another or whatever. But like they're all like maybe increasingly an imbalance of like Kellis's humors or something. Like one is pure madness. You have the like twins where there's this incompleteness kind of
true
spread across two people, and then his daughter is it's super interesting how his daughter, like the descriptions of her is so like it's like straight clinical diagnosis of like autism. Like she has like texture issues, she has food issues, she like has, difficulty in social situations, and like is very fixated on like facts and things. Like I think that's really interesting. But like how they're all like an imbalanced version and a degraded version of Kellis, but his Cayutis is the best version, just like Maithanet is a good example of I don't know.
Seems like it. Yeah, that's another character which one of the other few characters I kind of feel bad about, the daughter.
Well, what about
nice,
we're forgetting the other daughter, because there's another one, Surwa.
Yeah, but we haven't met her,
yet.
right?
No.
She's in the Swale Compact.
Yeah, but she seems normal too, I think, from the description. She was like, Esmenet says, this is like a daughter I could love, and she would love me back. But she was taken away, right?
When she was 3 years old, so we don't know how she would have grown up.
I guess.
So can I derail us for just a second here? And like, so the Swale Compact, like the little bit we saw of them in the initial scene with the Yatwer cultists, they're capable of like shape-shifting magic, because one of them is posing as one of the priestesses. And like she says, and then like after she kills her, she says, "Oh, she's been dead for days or possibly weeks," right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't that she was secretly, a magic user. It was that she was not herself. She was taken out. So I think that's like pretty interesting that like Kellis has his own army of skin spies.
I thought it was like a glamour or something. I thought.
Right. Not skin spies, but like,
Oh, okay.
Effectively,
I'm not
they-
sure, but
Yeah.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Damn.
maybe someone of these characters is also, masquerading. Someone we know masquerading as someone else.
That definitely seems likely.
What does that mean, Dan?
I don't know. Maybe Mimara is not Mimara. Maybe Mimara is a judge or some.
Jeez,
It's just a
man.
guy. It's just a guy. I don't know, but possibly.
Yeah, it is possible. Now I'm starting to question everyone. Maybe a Kamian skin spy.
No, it's got to be someone whose head we're not in or haven't been in. So I'm trying to think, like,
True.
who could it be?
Could it be
Not
someone from the
Captain.
Skin Eaters? Could it be someone from maybe the slave, right?
Mm.
Oh, that's interesting.
How would he go on about
There are a
Yator though?
couple.
Yeah.
The ways Kells manipulate people are long and complicated.
That's fair.
He works in mysterious ways sometimes.
Yes.
Are the Nilnamishi, sorry, starting completely new topic. Are we okay too? Nilnamishi, are they the India stand-in people? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Because the clothing and the names felt a bit Indian-ish.
And I think they're one of the 5 tribes, right? And they were sort of like, they cared less about what was happening in the, what they call the seas, right? They're doing their own thing most of the time.
Yeah.
It seems kind of like India, I guess.
Yeah, I was just thinking.
Historically, they're busy fighting against each other,
Yeah.
like a whole subcontinent there, doing their own thing.
Doing their own thing.
A big place.
Waging their own wars. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the name and Soman Datta and I guess how he was dressed too. I don't know why. For some reason, in my head, Esminet's always wearing a sari and Akamian's always wearing a dhoti. I don't know. That's just how they are dressed in my head. I don't know. But Mimara. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah. So, what was I going to say? Yeah, I'm seeing a little bit of crazy prediction time, I guess. Maybe it's not that crazy, but do you think that we'll see a parallel of what happened during the First Holy War, that Akamian and Mimara will get close and then she will fall for the captain and yeah, that's it, and then break Akamian's heart again.
I mean, do you want Mimara to fall for Akamian? That sounds a bit wrong.
I mean,
she's not his daughter, probably. Who knows? I guess
they already slept together. I don't know. I don't feel like that's the end of that relationship.
It was a bit creepy, though.
It is. I agree. It's horrible, but it is horrible. But knowing how things go.
Why do you name the captain the Kellis in this relation? This triumvirate?
Because she seemed briefly interested by him. That's all. That's all I have.
Oh yeah, that's fair. No, you're right. Yeah, she seemed like attracted to him or something. Yeah.
Kasoder or whatever.
Yeah, Kasoder. Yeah.
And his name starts with a K.
That's fair enough. You know, that's a winning point right there.
Yeah. Whose name starts with K? Only the Dunyan? I don't know. I'm trying to think.
Kelmomus?
No, I'm sure there's more. Yeah, which is a Dunyan.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's more. But yeah.
But
is that your most crazy prediction? Or do you have more crazy ones?
I mean, I guess the craziest one, honestly, is that either Sorvi or the captain will be the White Luck Warrior, because I have no reason to believe, like very little evidence to think either one. So those are the craziest predictions I have at the moment. Okay. But like it feels so this the setting of that expedition to where are they going? Ishwal feels very similar to the Holy War, except it's been mounted by Akamian, but the whole trying to sit around the fire, making making friends of the people who fight the wars, and then now he also has a woman alongside him like he had in the First Holy War. So I feel like it's building up to feel like a similar situation, but in a far more twisted way. But I could be wrong.
I hope it's not more twisted than the Holy War. Oh my god.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, you're fair. They're going into strong territory, right? This is unfortunate.
Yeah. Actually, I have a question. Do you guys think that Mimara? Do you think Mimara is actually Kamian's daughter? Maybe he doesn't know. Maybe he forgot. Maybe because she seemed pretty convinced.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I thought that Esmenet had already lost her when she first met Akamian. At least
Yeah, the
that's
timeline doesn't add up based on our understanding of it. I mean, unless Akamian is lying to us, the timeline doesn't add up. And if, God, I hope he's not lying to us. That just opens up a whole nother, even more messed up can of worms. Like I just, oh man.
Maybe he forgot, or maybe who knows? Like she was sleeping with a lot of men, because she's a prostitute. So,
but he like supposedly hadn't even met her by that point.
That's what he said.
Right. I mean, but if we think back to book 1, what we knew then too, that adds up, because he like didn't really know much about, like, the daughter was the one thing he that Esmenet wouldn't really talk about. He like distinctly mentions that.
But I don't remember if because it's also said that he used to leave for like long periods of time. Like he was like, oh, I was gone for like 4 years or 5 years or whatever, right? Which it could have also. I can imagine a situation in which he does his things in what was the, I don't remember, in the city, and then he leaves, and then she has the child, and then he comes back 4 years after, and she's gone, but she's still his child in some way,
So
I could imagine this.
That would depend on how much information Esmenet withheld about the child. I would like to think that if he knew how old the child was when, and it matches up when he was last with her, I would like to think that he would have considered that she might be his daughter and maybe done something to go looking for her or something. I don't know. Like, given how affectionate he is for his students, like all that wasted one-way affection, I feel like if he knew that he had the potential of a daughter, he might do more about it than he has. I don't know if that's warranted, though.
I don't even know how Esmenet would be like. I mean, I guess I don't know the story of how she got pregnant in the first place, but why would she suddenly decide? Because presumably that would be really early in their relationship to have Akamian's kid, like to stop taking whatever her remove the charm she used, I guess. I mean, it almost seems like that was pre-charm, and I feel like, I don't know, it just doesn't really make sense, I think, for the timeline or for the characters. Like I just feel like Esmenet would have said something at a certain point.
Yeah, that would be quite a shock at this point.
Yeah, let's hope not.
I really, really, really want it to not be true.
I just remember when I was reading the first time, when I was reading these parts, I was wondering about it.
How would Esmenet know too, right? Like, unless she very specifically,
maybe nobody knows, right?
Charm. Like,
that's
she was
how I
sleeping
imagine it.
Right.
I imagine that nobody knows and it was an accident, or maybe the charm is not 100% effective, or
Right, exactly. I mean, it would just have to be a huge coincidence, I feel like, for that to play out.
In real life, yes. In a book, I don't know.
I mean, fair enough.
Bakker is dark and like twisted, but I feel like having Akamian have sex with his daughter is maybe even too messed up for Bakker.
I don't know. What do you think, Steve? Is it too messed up?
No, it's all right. Well, I've read the series, so just wait.
Man,
I think we'll circle back to that question when we finish the last book.
Oh, yikes.
Oh God, what fucked up incest reveal are we gonna get? Oh God.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I'm just saying.
Oh.
All these rereaders telling us to just wait.
No, it's the most ominous phrase.
Yeah, I think that covers all the topics. Was there anything else that we skipped over or didn't cover deeply enough?
I don't think so.
No. Okay.
Any
then.
other crazy predictions from Justin or Carl?
I was just thinking about how I feel like I haven't thought of many like that. Just unlike the first trilogy, I'm not like overcome with a desire to like things feel more straightforward, I guess. Like there aren't as many confusing aspects or mysteries. Like I feel like a lot of the biggest mysteries we have are the same mysteries we've kind of always had, like the nature of the gods and the no god, and like the characters themselves. I mean, I guess now we have to wonder, who's glamour and who's who's a skin spy and shit like that. But
maybe think about it. I don't know.
The captain, I guess,
they're entertaining to me. So seeing your crazy theories.
The captain, I feel like, is somebody more. Like he definitely has more going on. I could not even begin to get. I like the White Luck Warrior theory. I also think Sorwheel. I mean, those are definitely. Now that we've talked about it, those two are the big front runners in my mind right now.
True.
Yeah, the only it's not even a prediction, but I just have like I got a bad feeling about Lord Casoter. Like I feel like that dude's got some dark shit in his past, and he's he's a grim dude, and like nothing good's gonna happen with that guy. Like it's just a matter of time. That's my prediction for Lord Casoter.
And how did he get friends with a non-man? Like that seems quite not a very easy thing to do, given what we've known about the other non-men. So how did he catch him? I guess.
And why does he look like? Why does his eyes? Why I can't do grammar today. Why do his eyes look like they're 1,000 years old?
Yeah, it's nothing good. Whatever's in his past, it's nothing good.
Okay, here's a crazy one. So there was like I can't think of that guy's name that never shuts up. I can't remember his name.
Sarl. It's like my name but an S.
Okay, all right, Sarl. So Sarl.
Just picture my face whenever you think of him, and my voice.
I can see that.
That's him. It's me in that world.
Oh man, I'm scared for you. So Sarl at one point says like that he had basically witnessed Casoter like doing like almost like inhumanly amazing shit, right? Like doing some like Kellis type shit, like standing alone in a amongst a hail of arrows and like taking no damage and that kind of stuff. So like I don't know, maybe he's Dun Yang. There's a crazy one. That's a super hot take.
I like that. As far as tinfoil goes, I dig it.
He's another son of Moangus or something.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, he's too old for that, I think, but maybe he's like I don't know.
It's been 20 years.
Too old?
Yeah, it could be
20 years plus the other. Yeah, plus the other. How long was Moangus?
Yeah, he could be. Okay, he could be. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
It was 30 years ago. Nayer's backstory was 30 years before the.
It's like 50 years.
Yeah, so 50.
Yeah. So he could be 50. Okay.
That's old enough.
All right. I'm going with it.
Cool.
Nice. Very cool.
All the tinfoils. Cool. So outros, we'll start with Justin and go counterclockwise, I guess.
All right. I'm Justin, and you can find me on the Page Chewing forum mostly.
Where else?
Tell us your address.
And midnightmovietrain.com.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
And I'm Dan, and you can find me on Page Chewing forum. DNFire17, and I don't have a website.
I'm Sarl. You can find me in the Black Hall of Still Algis. Please pray for my soul. No, but if you I was just on Page Chewing in Varsha's YouTube channel, talking about Truth of Crowns, my book. So if you want to hear a little bit about that, the first hour or so is completely spoil free.
Oh, good. I was going to ask about that.
Yeah.
Cool.
We didn't just start off like, here's twist number one. Let's break it all down. No, for a while we just had a nice chat.
Cool.
Yeah, everybody go check that out. It's on the podcast. It'll be on my channel tomorrow morning, and then it's already on Varsha's channel, so go give that a listen. You can find me on pagestream.com, of course, and there's too many links to talk about, but they're all there, so that's the best way to find us.
And you can find me on the YouTube channel Reading by the Rainy Mountain, a bunch of podcasts. The one I like to pitch the most is Speculative Speculations, if you like to listen to discussions about sci-fi stories. And yeah, find us on the Patreon forum if you'd like to talk to us about these books or any other books that you want to get people to read because you like them too much. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in a week. Bye.